Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Everybody please stand for the pledge. Standing for a moment of silence prayer. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. We'll have the secretary do a roll call for the beginning of the meeting.
Trustee Hovis.
Here.
Vice Chairman Trustee Park.
Here.
Chairman Trustee Webb.
Here.
Okay, this meeting is being recorded for informational purposes. All comments will be taken at the end of the meeting. If anyone has a question or comment, please raise your hand. You will be recognized by the chairman. Come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Multiple speakers at that time will not be allowed. Thank you.
Okay, 104-17 to accept the minutes from March 27th, regular meeting with revisions.
The revision being
The resolution number should have been 103-17 instead of 102-18 as the ending resolution. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll move.
I'll second.
No, Paul wasn't here last week.
Yeah, he wasn't here.
Trustee Park.
Yes.
Trustee Webb.
Yes. To authorize the fiscal officer to pay all outstanding invoices incurred and approve all warrants issued.
I'll move. I'll second.
Trustee Hovis.
Yes.
Trustee Park.
Yes.
Trustee Webb.
Yes. Correspondence, copies are available upon request as listed below. Administration, anything to report?
I have nothing. The Easter egg hunt, it went over very good. A lot of kids enjoyed it. So hopefully we can have a bigger and better one next year.
Okay. In addition to that, on April the 20th, Fowler is sponsoring the Township Association dinner. We need to know by the 15th, anybody who may want to attend. On April the 26th, the county engineer is having his annual dinner at 6 p.m. at Fiestas. We also need a count no later than April 22nd for those who might attend. So anybody who plans to attend either function, please contact me as soon as possible. Fire Department, Chief Lewis.
I submitted the monthly fire department report for March. We had 104 total incidents, 71 being EMS or auto accidents or crashes. And we did 24 inspections for the month. The only thing else I have on the agenda is for signage for the new fire station for approval. That's all I have, Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Chief. 106-17 to approve an expenditure of $1,720 to Midwest Sign Center for the purchase and installation of signage for the front of the new fire station to be paid from the fire fund, and the zoning permit to be waived by the Board of Trustees. I wanted to add that too.
I'll second.
Trustee Hovis.
Yes.
Trustee Park.
Yes. Police Department, Chief Hovis.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I submitted my monthly report. We had 487 calls for service. We had 123 incident reports. We had 11 crashes, 52 arrests, 76 traffic offenses, and we patrolled 10,929.6 miles. Just what I have on the agenda.
Okay, very good. Thank you for your information. Okay, 107-17 to authorize Chief Hovis to sell the following vehicles obtained via the police impound lot at a price not to exceed $2,500 per ORC 4513.61 as listed below.
I'll move. Second.
Trustee Hovis.
Yes.
Trustee Park.
Yeah.
Trustee Webb.
Yes. 108-17 to accept the attached list of items as a donation from Walmart.
I'll move. Second.
Trustee Hovis?
Yes.
Trustee Clark?
Yes.
Trustee Webb?
Yes. 109-17 to authorize Chief Hovis to trade the attached list of items to a police supplier for police equipment.
So move. Second.
Trustee Hovis?
Yes.
Trustee Clark?
Yes.
Trustee Webb?
Yes. 110-17 to accept the resignation of part-time patrolman Jason Maines effective March 27th, 2017.
I'll move. Second.
Trustee Hovis?
Yes.
Trustee Clark?
Yes.
Trustee Webb?
Yes. Road Superintendent, Mr. Park.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I just have a few things to let the public know. We are accepting tires from all residents, used tires, 8 per resident, and that's for the entire month of April, in between 7 and 3. Just stop down to the road department and we'll help you offload those. I turned the spring report into soil and water for our MS4 permitting. And I also sent a couple of men to Columbus so that we can be eligible for a street sign grant. That's going to cover the warning signs. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Planning Director, Zoning Inspector, and Code Enforcement Officer, Mr. Mills.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm just kind of looking over right now, this copy of the City of Niles, that deals with the group homes. Trustee Hovis said that he believes this was their first reading. I did contact, the City of Twinsburg's law director, who, they were actually in the process of doing something similar to this. He's supposed to email me a copy of it, I haven't got it yet. But, after the first time I talked to him, within, about a 30-day period, he called me back, and he said they are revising theirs and actually thinking about dropping it because they were contacted by, HUD. And I noticed as I'm going through here, they have some definitions that I think they are going to, have some trouble getting by. So I'm still working on looking at some of the stuff. I think the best solution is going to be what was, advised by our law director, about the amount we can put in a certain area. I think that's the only leg you have to stand on. I think anything else, we will, be contacted by the federal government and told that we're overstepping our boundary. There's several things I see in here that jump out right away. We will see how it goes. We'll watch their reading and see if they get by. Hopefully, they have the money to defend this, because there's some things in here that I think they're gonna really have some trouble with on the group home.
Yeah, but here again, Mike, that's city, and it has nothing.
Yeah, they have a lot more power, but it's still, they do not have the power to override the federal government. The federal government has the last say when it comes to any of this, so we'll see what happens, we'll watch this. I haven't had any other complaints on anything from the group homes yet, so, we'll continue to monitor that. We have had a couple of little things, but that's just some minor stuff with the settling in that I think will take care of itself. Secondly, I do remind the public that, the weather's starting to warm up. I know it's been wet, but, lawn mowing needs to start, getting caught up. We do have several properties in Bazetta that we had trouble with last year because of the homes being abandoned. I am trying to contact the banks once again and trying to get the banks to send somebody out to mow these properties, but as you know, a lot of times they don't change the names on the on the property, even though the bank actually holds the property, they keep it in the owner's name. So, we know it costs a lot of money, so we're gonna just try to go through the banks and see if we can get some of these mowed. But if anybody has a complaint, please feel free to call me and let me know so I can keep a record on all this stuff. I do log it all in, I do keep track of all the abandoned homes. And even though we're not mowing anymore at this time, I still do keep a record of it. And if it gets too bad, we'll still try to do some nuisance paperwork on it, even if we don't file it, to hold the cost down. We have had several new houses go in. I gave you last month's zoning report. It looks like the Aldi's is still going through. I haven't heard nothing to the contrary. So hopefully here in the next couple of weeks, we'll issue a demolition permit and they'll start the process on that. I have been contacted by Chipotle and by Starbucks, and it looks like they are going to be moving into the small space by the little Millennium Plaza right there, so looks like both of those projects are online to be moving along. Other than that, it's just the normal stuff. I have a couple complaints that I've been made aware of that I'm working on again, and I'll let you know if I need anything on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Zoning Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals. No one's here tonight to report, but they did hold their quarterly meeting last Wednesday evening, April 5th, with no action taken. Their next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, July 5th, 6:30 p.m. 5th? Oh, the 11th, okay, let's change that to the 11th. July 11th, 6:30 p.m. Here at the Administration Building. Okay. Parks and Recreation Board, Frank, did you attend that meeting last week?
I did.
Pardon it?
I did.
Okay, anything to report?
Not really.
No.
They're just getting ready for the fundraiser and
Okay.
working around the problems that are popping up, so.
I know their next meeting is scheduled for tomorrow night here at the Administration Building at 6 p.m. Anybody with some ideas on how to keep that park open would be greatly appreciated to attend. And they're trying to hold weekly meetings at this point to get ready for the fundraiser, Candlelight Knolls, at May 6th.
I didn't mean to be rude, but was it tomorrow? Because they changed that, I thought.
No, I'm sorry, it is Wednesday. So it'd be the 12th. Wednesday the 12th, yes, okay. So yes, just to correct myself, the meeting will be held on Wednesday, May the 12th, 6 o'clock, here at the Administration Building. Did I say May?
Yeah.
April. Okay, Safety Committee.
Nothing to report, sir.
Report, okay. Health Insurance.
Nothing.
Okay. Public Information Officer, nothing to report. Asked to be placed on the agenda, no one asked. At this point, we will open the meeting up to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to make public comment at this time? Okay. Please come forward, state your name and address, and address the board with questions or concerns.
Robin Hyman, 2408 Northview Drive, Portland. I have a couple questions. So there are, I guess maybe Chris knows this more. There are inspections done on Imagination Station. Can you explain to me that? Can you explain to me what they are, when they're done, who does them?
Usually it would have been Jack, Governor, but this year it's gonna be Thad, Vida. And there's a whole checklist of things that they check over.
And how
There's a
often
daily
is it
check,
doing it?
there's a daily checklist that they go over, and then they bring anything to my attention.
So how often do they do it?
Daily,
Once a day?
once a day,
How many days a week?
5 days a week, as long as we're working.
So once a day, 5 days a week.
Yeah, unless there's a holiday or something.
And that is,
My
our
primary.
department. So does he pay his hourly wage to go over there
Out of the
every
park.
day?
Yes,
Out of the park?
out of the park month, yes.
Okay. So just Monday through Friday then?
Monday through Friday, correct.
No weekends?
No, unless there's
I'm a
some
little
sort of,
perplexed. I heard 2 days, I
emergency.
heard 2 times a day, 7 days a week.
no, we do them once a day, and this is from, I'm in charge of overseeing.
I know.
We check it once a day, and there's a weekly inspection,
So what's the allotted time that they have to do that every day?
You know, they have to go through and look at everything. I would say it's probably, at the beginning of the year, we spend about roughly 2 weeks getting everything ready. Jack didn't come in this year, so we've kind of been doing it a little bit on the run this year of trying to get everything ready. I know that he probably spends between mowing, he's going to be mowing a little bit this year because he's only working 4 hours a week. So he's not gonna be able to keep up with all the mowing, and there's a lot of trash, and, I mean, it's probably, at the beginning of the year, it's pretty heavy, just trying to get the tables.
So are we talking 1 time a day, an hour?
Oh, no, because the garbage alone probably takes an hour to pick up.
Okay, so what are we talking?
So, and I'd say it probably takes him a half hour to an hour to go through, depending upon how much garbage was left in Imagination Station alone. Once a week, he has to pick up all the cans and bring them out to the location where they're picked up. Mowing is,
Well, not counting mowing,
Not counting mowing.
Is there an
What about
inspection,
spraying?
is there an inspection of, the bolts and nuts and the chains, is my question?
I would say that maybe not every bolt and nut, because that would take, obviously, more than enough.
Well, you have a
That'd be a
regular
lot of
check,
time.
you have a
We
regular.
have a checklist. that
Our
we check
insurance
every
company
day.
give us a checklist if I remember right.
Could I get a copy of that checklist?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I can get that. Also, long time
You'll have to
coming,
ask Rita for that, and then
Okay,
I'll
all
supply
right.
her with it.
long time coming, recording these meetings. Who voted for the recording of the meetings?
Frank, Frank and I,
Yeah, I wasn't here.
Paul wasn't here when we put it in place, so.
And it didn't cost you a nickel.
Oh, I
No.
appreciate that, but I
They
heard
come
that.
out, we paid for it, Ted and I paid for it.
And,
And it cost the township a nickel.
okay, long time coming, many years.
Well, we wanna be more transparent,
Well,
so.
about time hearing that too, so I think it's a good thing. I think it was wonderful to be able to watch a meeting, and, I was listening to Mike about the group home thing. I thought that was a kind of a settled thing, that we came in when all that was going on, we did the commissioners meeting, what's going on, why is that being brought up?
We had a couple of complaints by some residents, and it's just basically a follow-up.
Down in the Timber Creek home?
Just in general, you know, there was another one planning on going on McClure Jacoby, and there was a comment made that it lowers property values, so I followed up simply by making a call to the president of the Realtors Association in Trumbull County, and he told me he's never heard anything like that before.
Maintain the home.
There's been several communities that have been bombarded with residents, because it's usually a knee-jerk reaction when somebody finds out that it's coming in next to them, and they're scared, they don't understand, they've never had. I mean, there's been several in Bazetta Township going back,
30 years.
what do you think, Dennis, 30 years that most people didn't even know about? So, you know, part of my job when I get a complaint is to do a lot of it I do on my own time. I mean, you're well aware, we've talked before that my hours have been cut. but I still, you know, I still am a resident of Bazetta Township. So to try to make people feel a little more comfortable, I try to do some research when I can on my own, you
What
know.
Mark said, and we had this discussion down at Trumbull County, and if you remember back, this was a very heated
Mhm.
thing, and if I have to, because we happened to be here for something else when those residents came in, and I was appalled at the stuff that was said and done, and I don't think, if they've ever been around them and seen, or talked to somebody that actually has bring more positive things in here. My hairdresser has lived next to a home for years, and she said they maintain that house
Right.
better. She doesn't, those people are, it's exemplary. She says it's just amazing. Now, did she not say, she said at first, she did have a little concern, but then that all went out the window, and I think it is people's fear.
Sure, that's basically what it is, and there's always gonna be, just like when you get a new neighbor, period. I mean, you know, there's gonna be a little bit of give and take time. Get
Absolutely.
used to it, I mean, you know.
You're preaching to the choir.
I just feel that's part of my job to try to keep residents informed, and for me to make a couple phone calls, you know, isn't a big deal for me to do that, to try to help people out, so.
Thank you, Ted. Thanks, Frankie, for paying for it. I just wish to God it was 20 years ago when we were.
Just a little FYI, when you're visiting those grandkids down south, you can still come in on our website and see the meeting the next day.
Absolutely. And I watched I know Jack was gonna maybe get up and say something, I don't know whether he will, but we watched still, we are not in favor of the spraying. I don't agree with more spraying, you're gonna get my butt in here, you know it. And as a master gardener, Jack, you guys want some more information on it, you're killing our food. You know, if you wanna keep don't put pesticides, I don't understand that premise of doing that. When I listened to that couple that came in.
Very informative, yes.
Was very, very good, and it was nice to be able, that was such an eye-opening thing, to be able to see them come in and listen to that, and they knew their stuff, and it was really good. So, just want you to know I appreciate that.
Thank you for your comments.
Thanks.
Anyone?
Should I go?
I think,
Sure, go ahead.
I'll be brief.
Please.
Jack Hagan, 2408 Northview Drive. I'm a master gardener, and my concern is the spraying. I work the hotline in the Ag Center there, and we answer the residents' questions about flowers, insects, pests, and all such things. And we are not anti-spraying, anti-chemical, but what we are is prioritizing. We only use as much chemical or as harsh a system as we need to take care of a pest. And that's only if the pest is something we can't live with. I'm not going to spray my tomato plants that I'm going to eat off of if I'm going to, only have a couple tomato worms on it. If you don't have too big of a problem, don't make the cure worse, okay? So we don't use a shotgun approach. If you're using an insecticide in the open, and there's a lot of restrictions, you gotta read the directions. It's a shotgun. You're not only getting mosquitoes, but everything, all the beneficial insects. So you know about the honeybees, but there are other things that go out there and actually kill mosquitoes and their larvae. But if you kill them, you will create a natural imbalance, and it will turn around and come and bite you in the butt.
Yeah.
So a couple of things we do. One is read the directions. This is what I tell people that get on phone. If it says, there are some restrictions, only when there's no wind, things like that. So timing is important. Not only timing like what you would think, time of day, makes sense. More on that later. But also timing in the life cycle of the pest that you're going after. If you're not doing it at the right time, you're doing zero good, okay? And if you're out there in the daylight, you're not going to have any mosquitoes out there. Another thing, mosquitoes don't care about boundaries, township lines, street lines, any of that. They know wetland, dry land, things like that. So if you're doing a township, there's a lot of that that's I won't even say wasted, it's actually going the other way, it's being harmful. If you kill honeybees, we don't eat. Nothing that you eat that's grown will pollinate without bees. So, be careful on that one. And it's a long term, it's hard, you can quit doing what you're doing now, but if you really reduce the population, it takes a long time to rebound. Having said that, how the spraying is done. If you wanna be, spraying a garden or golf course or anything, you have to be licensed. You have to follow what the directions say to do. Without being an investigator of the company that was doing this township, just by coincidence, I have been walking or driving my motorcycle down 305, broad daylight, with a van in front of me that I thought was on fire. Gone around it, because I was gonna get around it, and it's the vehicle in front of them is spraying at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Route 305, daylight, traffic is creating instant fog. Another incident, during the day, we're coming up on a sidewalk in an intersection, some lady with a poor little TC dog.
Cortland.
Yeah, was coming up, the same company though, and, all of a sudden, the spray vehicle came through the stop sign and sprayed this poor lady. I thought she was gonna have a heart attack trying to jump back on the curb, grab the dog, and she disappeared in the fog. So, they are not following the proper directions, and this is just my coincidence of happening upon them. If somebody shows you a license, you make sure, it's your job to make sure that they're following what they're supposed to be doing and the way it's supposed to be done, when it's supposed to be done. And I'm telling you right now, if I was in charge of those people, I would pull their license. Thank you.
I might add, when was the last time that you heard of Zika virus in Ohio?
There you go. How many cases? Vaccines?
Not one that I'm aware of. Because of the freezing weather we have here, they can't survive.
No, that's, just because somebody gives you free
That's
stuff,
all it is.
doesn't mean we have to, just because somebody says, here's some free poison to put around the residents, doesn't mean you have to do it.
Well, this is what we need to hear from the people.
We don't need it.
All right, anybody else with comments? Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Hey, Sam Short, 429 Lakeshore Drive, Portland. Two things. One, I stopped at Imagination Station because of our conversation that you and I had, Frank, okay? And you did tell me that they check that 7 days a week. You did tell me that.
Well, they couldn't because they only
Yeah,
work 5 days a week.
Yeah, this is what I
Yeah.
found that was curious.
No, I shouldn't.
Listening.
If I did say it, it's
Yeah.
only 5 days
Yeah,
a week.
I actually.
And really, by law, we don't even have to do that. I think it's like very minute, days a week. That is through our insurance.
Our insurance company
Yeah.
does a loss
So,
prevention.
yeah,
that we
because-
have
But
to-
we do it, and it's documented on paper, so.
Because I was over there today and I looked at, and some of this stuff, I can't understand how you get so much done with so little staff. Honest to God, I can't figure this one out. I went over there and looked and I counted chains and the little connections, there's no way.
No.
And this guy that you have for 4 hours, he can't do this in 4 hours. It can't be done.
No.
He cannot do this, and I was wondering because if it's on 7 days a week, like you had told me, and I added this up, if it's a union employee, you can't do that because you got 6 starts. You got 6 starts, and so somewhere down the line, this
If I
guy's
told you
getting
that, I
a
was wrong.
ton of overtime. That don't happen, there's no overtime
No
ever
overtime.
involved in this, or if it accrues.
That I can remember, there's no overtime in the park.
The only time there would be,
Yeah, but does it wind up as overtime against your department?
No.
For, say for instance, they do the hours over there and you come and work for you, you got your
No.
40 hours, there's not?
Not usually, no.
Okay,
The only time there would be overtime is if there's a Saturday burial or there's a lot of snow.
okay.
Or an emergency,
Or an emergency, yes.
stop sign, tree down.
Okay, and your zoning inspector, you're getting cheated, I think. My math is not the greatest, okay, but I added up your minutes, your starts and your stops for the 2 days that you have here, and I come up with 5 hours and 37 minutes. If you look at 3/6, you started at 14:15, which is really 15 minutes after 2, and you shut down at 1600, which would be 4 o'clock, right? That's 1.45 minutes, 1 hour, 45 minutes. And if you look at the other, you gotta start at, it don't add up, so you're getting cheated. So thank you.
Is that in your minutes?
Yeah, right here.
Last,
Yeah.
last.
Last week's.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, if you do the starts and the stops, okay? Crank them up and you look at it. I apologize for this. This is not supposed to happen.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you right now, I work,
Yeah.
I put in way more, I put in way more than 20 hours a week.
I just
A
wanted
lot of
you
it's
to
phone
add it up.
calls and stuff, I mean,
Yeah.
I've grown up in the township, and I've explained to these guys that I am more than willing to give them some free time if I need to get what we need done.
If you look at, you got a start time at 9:16 and shut down at 12:58, that's 3 hours, 40 minutes. Crank them up, add the time, maybe my math is terrible, I don't know, but thank you for that.
No, I just pretty much go on a
Thank
straight
you.
20 hours a week, but like I said, if I'm in the middle of a phone call, I'm not gonna hang up on somebody
Yeah,
because I've
right.
used more time than I try to allot each person. I mean, I do give a lot to these guys, they know that. I sit at home and watch seminars on my own time, just that they used to send me to, just to keep updated on this stuff, because it does change. And there is a lot of times where if you don't know what you're talking about, we'll end up in court. And I mean, we've managed to dodge all the way up to the federal court before on some incidents, because I pay attention, I do educate myself, and I do wanna give back to the community. I mean, I feel that's what these guys do a lot too, that nobody ever sees. And they should be applauded for what they do a lot of times, but that's not why we're here. What we're here to do is make this a better community, make this a safer community, try to be good stewards with the money we have, and use it to the maximum ability we can to get the best results for the township. Because in the long run, the better the township is, the more the township grows, the safer the township is. I know Dennis does it, I know Mike does it, I know Chris does it. I mean, we're all here for the same thing. Of course, we make a living off of this, of course, we get paid for it, but in the long run, we're all residents here, or have grown up here, or put our time in here, and I think I can speak for all of us that we wanna make this the best community we can make, and that's all there is to it. I mean, if I'm losing a couple bucks here and there, don't tell my wife, I hope she isn't watching, but I do.
Forget the camera.
It doesn't matter, because she knows the same thing. I mean, we're here for the township. We try to do the best we can, and that's why sometimes I get upset when people come in and accuse us of not doing what we're supposed to do, when I know that we're all trying to do the best. We're human, we're gonna make mistakes, we just try to do the best we can do. So, I do appreciate you pointing that out, and I'll put in for overtime.
Yeah, might as well. And one other thing, I drove down the road to the park that you have, okay? And I did stop at, the Department of Natural Resources, and that is their road. And it is terrible, you can almost not access that. Is there a way that you can come up with, do you own the parking lot?
No.
Does the Bazetta own the park, they don't own the parking lot either?
No road.
So,
They're gonna
it makes no
start a
sense to
fire,
have-
they're gonna
have-
start a fire, I talked to her here the other day, they're gonna come in a month or so, when it's dry, and that's the wrong time of year to start a fire and grade a road, so.
Yeah.
But that's what they're gonna do.
Yeah, because Diane, I believe Diane is the lady that is
No.
in charge of.
No.
No,
No, it's the other one, the state of Ohio.
Yeah, it's Diane's.
No,
the same
she's
one.
federal government.
Oh, she's federal government, oh.
Yeah, she's for engineers, right?
Because I did ask them, and they actually have a volunteer program and you can sign up and you're covered under workman's comp and all this stuff, according to what they told me, that you can have volunteers go and work that area there.
Under the state property,
Yeah,
state
yeah,
property.
yeah. So I don't know how, you made a statement, you can't use volunteers or something? There was something about.
No, we're using volunteers in our park.
We will take all the volunteers we can get.
Yeah, because originally, you had a landscaper that had asked for, saying he had the equipment and he had all that stuff there, and you said it's not covered under the insurance, and he could not take his landscaping equipment over there or his staff over there because.
He has to have his own insurance.
He does it for free, he needs to come to the board and present it, what he wants to do, and show his PWC and his insurance, and
Well, he said he had it, he had a business.
he hasn't been here since.
He hasn't been here since,
No.
no. Well, thank you for letting me address you, thank you again, and the extra time.
You're welcome.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
gentlemen.
Is there anybody else in the audience? Please come forward.
My name is Linda Smith, and I live at 2760 Timberline Drive, Portland. And I had the pleasure of
Spoke,
communicating
yes,
with
and
you
we sent some
through the
emails.
web, and I
Pardon me,
did,
she didn't get your last name.
Goldsmith. And I did get an email from Mr. Parks I think, or Chris Parks,
That would be Chris.
I'm sorry. In 2014 regarding our roads and the cost to repair them. That's my concern.
Mhm.
I love the area, I love the neighborhood, police and fire always work good. But the neighbors are not wanting to pay more.
Can I explain to you kind
You
of how
did,
things
I
work?
have all that information of the cost. My question is, and this comes up from the neighbors.
Mhm.
One of them wants to have an audit done to see where the money is going.
Fine. But the audit costs $50,000.
Exactly,
So,
and it makes a lot
we
of
could cut-
goodwill.
We do have an audit coming up sometime this year. We're audited every 2 years. I think we're due for a full-blown audit this year sometime. So there will be an audit done this year for that purpose.
Okay, and the cost per household on this paperwork was approximately $2,900.
Yes, if they decide.
How is that, is it by your property on the road? How is that estimated, or is it the same for everyone?
I believe it's gonna be the same for everyone. There's 214 homes, I believe.
17.
217, okay. 217 homes in the community, and there are areas that would not contribute to the paving project. If you're on a corner lot, you're only gonna be charged for the frontage on your address. So if somebody lives on a corner of Timber Creek East and Beaver Trail, their address is Timber Creek, so what do we do with that 150-foot section that no one pays tax, supposedly no one pays taxes on? So I think what the engineer did was he took all of what was in consideration for the paving project, everything, intersections, cul-de-sacs, and all the roads, and I think he came up with a number of somewhere around, what, $650,000 or $700,000? And then,
650 to 730.
yeah, then he divided that by the 217 homes, which would mean that everybody would pay an equal amount, $3,000. Now, that's nothing that we can do here as a board of trustees. That has to be done by the residents. There has to be a petition passed around through the community. The property owners have to sign it and present it to the township trustees. And we need to see at least 51% of the owners in the community that are willing to do that as an assessment.
Why is that the way it's always done in a neighborhood?
Well, this neighborhood is relatively new.
25 years old, and that's how long a road lasts. And the roads our street is no worse than a lot of others, but it is horrible.
Oh, yeah.
It is horrible to drive down. If an ambulance or police have to hurry through there, it's a danger.
Okay.
And our taxes are very high. I don't know how they figure the taxes.
I
I can give you a real rough estimate on how things are broken
Okay.
down. What I was able to do after our conversation was to kind of, review the whole process. We had just done, last year, a study on what a $100,000 home would cost if we had a levy, and how much those taxes were relative to the county, the township, the schools, and so forth. So what I did was I figured, if you paid $5,000 a year in property tax, okay, you would be living in a home in Timber Creek that would have a value of about $227,000. Okay, out of that $5,000, 21.6% of that $5,000 would come to the township. That breaks down to $1,082 total. Out of your $5,000, we get $1,082.
And just roughly, if you had $1 million in taxes coming from 217 homes.
We don't have that.
Well, I
Not-
found that out. I mean, one neighbor, we were gonna get a bunch of neighbors to come, and
Uh-huh.
as you can see, 2 came.
Now, let me finish. In that breakdown, you are paying to Bazetta Township for roads only, $101.49 a year. Okay, so if you have I did it on 214 homes. 214 homes, we collect $21,000 a year in road taxes.
Who figured this?
The Trumbull County Auditor. You can go to the auditor's site, and he's gonna tell you everything that you do.
Is there no planning when a development goes in, when an area is established? I mean, 20 years are the maximum you're gonna get out of a road.
Yeah.
And one road in our development was repaid a couple years ago.
Yeah.
One road. How did that happen?
Well,
Tell her the cost of that road though.
that road was a little over, what, $52,000 for that?
That is a small.
I don't think it was
Right.
quite that, I think it was 39,000, and that was the first time since 1988 that was paid.
Right.
I told
I'm
you,
not complaining, this is conversation,
Right.
I'm here walking my dog through the neighborhood.
What we have to do, and somehow, it costs about $200,000 to pave a mile of road. And there's a little over 3 miles of road in the Timber Creek development. So that's, again, what the engineer told us, Trumbull County engineer, between $600,000 and $700,000 to pave that. When we're only getting $101 a year out of the homes in Timber Creek, how do we pay for it? Where does it come from?
and that covers, roadside mowing,
Snow
ditching,
plows.
snow
So
plows,
short-
salt.
Short of a petition,
There are other ways, and right now, we're in a precarious situation because no one in Bazetta Township is paying any additional levy funds to the general fund. Okay, so there's no money coming in for us to be able to do certain things. Right now, we have a levy on the ballot for 1.9 mil to compensate or help the general fund. Now, if there's money in the general fund, and enough money in the general fund, we can sometimes go to DOT and apply for a grant, but normally with grants, it's gonna require some sort of match, a local contribution. So if we say that we're gonna contribute 10%, we don't score enough points to get that match. We start to get pretty competitive if Chris would present up to anything over 34%, we get an opportunity to get a grant. So the higher that percentage goes, the more likely we would to get a grant. So
and who is that to?
this is the issue one money from the state of Ohio. So the best way to do that would be, instead of paying $3,000 for each resident, if we could get on a paving program where we could repave some of these roads and have a 50% match, we basically could double our money and double what we can do in the paving projects. But without that money available, we're kind of stuck.
All right, and if we're back to the 3,000 approximately per household, I already know what some neighbors are gonna say. There's a home on Timber Creek that probably is built on 3 lots at 17,000 square feet.
Yeah.
So where is the fairness in that?
Those are the kind of things that we need to iron out. The first thing that we did was we presented to the Trumbull County engineer, what can we do? We approached our attorney, what can we do? And the two of them came up with some sort of a project. So is it based on frontage frontage foot, there's probably several different ways where we can figure it out as to how much frontage foot or, but there are a lot of areas in Timber Creek where there's no contribution from anybody. If you live in a cul-de-sac, when you live in a cul-de-sac and your frontage foot is only 35 feet, but it goes back in a pie shape, you're paying for 35 feet.
But you got 100-foot round circle.
Yeah.
My neighbor's the same way.
Yeah.
He's right on the curve and has a pie shape, so I
Right.
understand.
So-
I'm
It's
so
not fair
sure
to
that
them because they have the same
hours
half acre I do.
Well,
Right.
I'd like to say
Go
something,
ahead.
because
Mm.
back when Neil Eaton started putting Timber Creek in, I went to the trustees. Cheryl, you can say it right or wrong. I went to the trustees, we need more money for roads. See, the county accept the roads, then they turn them over to the township. We have no jurisdiction to say we don't want the roads, we have to take them. Well, if you don't have enough money, how are you gonna maintain it? And that was what, 20 years, 25 years ago?
Or more. Really.
Well,
And
great.
his budget right now is $300,000.
Except
The
they
police
don't-
and the fire at $1 million. So what's out of whack here?
Well, and one last thing, and on the 3,000, how would that be paid by the owner, upfront?
Well, again, those would be options that we'd have to discuss. You have a couple of options there up front, or it could be on an assessment, on a tax assessment, over a certain period of years, but I don't think it could be any more than.
I think it's like 10 years, yeah.
So there would be a tax assessment, it could be
So that would be about
about
300.
150 a half.
But is there a percentage on that?
Well, when I went to the DOT meeting and the issue 3 meeting last fall, there was over $1 million in money sitting there that could be available to us, at a 0% loan. So there's money out, last year there was money out there, it's about $1.5 million, but no one wanted it, we want a match.
We would have a really good share at a really good shot at getting a loan for that. Because somehow this, if we did go with the SAD, somehow this project's gonna need to be funded.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we can do a SAD and go with a state issue on loan. I don't know that you can do that. It might have to be like some sort of bond.
Could be, that would be issued, but again, we can't do anything from that standpoint until the residents come forward with a petition.
That would be.
We have to do that first.
And it has to be 51% of the owners
And
agree.
the owners have to do the petition.
Yes, we as trustees cannot circulate the petition.
And just to add on to what they've been saying, several years ago, I was approached, by some former condo associations. And they were having trouble with the roads in the development and some of the properties not being kept up, so I started doing some research. And I found out that one of the leading reasons that condo associations hold up and don't exist anymore is because nobody wants to pay into the maintenance fund. You know, they started with the great idea, and I'm just saying this because you said, didn't anybody plan for it? You know, I'm sure at some point in the conversation of putting together a PUD for the development down there, it was brought up that we should assess every resident $500 a year, something like that, but those associations fall apart because people don't want to put that money forward. They expect that to be brought on by different entities throughout the government. And that's one of the biggest reasons condo associations end up folding and disappearing, because nobody wants to keep putting that $1,000 a year into a fund and sharing it amongst themselves, you know, I mean, it's like an insurance policy, and we all know if the state of Ohio didn't force us to have insurance, how many people would be out there driving without insurance right now? You know, I mean, look at the life insurance. People don't invest in life insurance because they figure that's one of the places they can cut that and put, you know, more money in their pocket. And unfortunately, part of the PUD did not stress that that money had to be put away for the township to use for maintenance and keeping those roads up to shape. It's just a fact of life. I mean, that's the way it works.
So, I mean, there's a couple of options that we can look at this point. whether the residents of the community are willing to circulate a petition, or, again, if the levy were to pass, we could get more aggressive in our state issue 1 funding and grants, where we could maybe put a program together. I mean, even if we do it at $50,000 a year with a $50,000 match with a $50,000 reward, that's $100,000. Well, we've already been told that it's $700,000, so that could be a 7 or 8 year project. If we were able to commit to $50,000 a year with a $50,000 grant match. So, I mean, those are kind of things, those are the 2 options that we have right now, but either one looks viable at this point.
Well, you know, we replaced our approach in 2012, and the snowplow came through and took about 10 inches of it, because it sat up.
It's a little higher than the road.
And that's an issue, and I don't wanna do it again. Now, I understand we can do concrete.
But you have to still keep that edge back off the road.
Exactly, you still gotta pay. So,
The driveway permits are available online, and on that, it specifies the requirements that you have to follow in order to put in concrete or even another approach.
There's 44 roads in our township.
46.
46 now, that we have to maintain. If we do 1 a year, see how far back we are? It's a damn shame.
it is.
But again, if we could get into some sort of a project where we had some money available, that would be ongoing monies available, not just monies that are sitting right now in the account, but if we had some way to fund some of these projects, we could implement a program that would help alleviate some of the problems. I'd say that all the roads in there would get paved, but
Yeah.
certainly look at some of the Beaver Trail and Quail Run and.
That's part of the problem with the grants too, you know. The shorter dead-end streets and such, it's harder to get grants on them because the traffic count isn't as high. So when we do have money available, for a grant, you know, I base my project off of a grant that I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna win. I go by their points and I use that point scale to our benefit to try to get us those grants. And, it's really tough because it's hard to do the shorter roads because the traffic count is just very low on it. I mean.
Doesn't support it.
Yeah, and the points just aren't there for it. Yes, correct.
And there's another point that we have to do local shares. We have to do a blacktop road through the township. That's our local share to get the grants. There has to be so much of that done. If you don't have any money, you can't do it.
And we have got a lot of money in grants over the last 26 years that I know of. You know, we've gotten a lot of money in grants, but the well has pretty much just dried up on our local share. So now I'm putting in grants with no local share, which I know
Doesn't make sense.
yeah, we don't have any chance in getting it, but we don't have the local share to put with it anyhow, so I'm just keeping our name in the system, and that's pretty much what I'm doing. I have a 5-year plan that's more of a wish list.
Thank you for hearing me out.
Okay. I mean, if you would like, Chris and I would be more than happy to meet with some of the residents to explain what's happening.
Jeannie came,
Okay.
my neighbor across the
Okay.
street, but the others.
Yeah, I mean, we'd be more than happy maybe to have a private meeting here with me and Chris on an evening, or meet someplace else that might be convenient for your neighbors, to kind of lay down the foundation of what needs to be done and how it needs to be done and what can be done. Okay?
Thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else?
Cheryl Pettit, 1061 Perkins Jones Road, Warren, Ohio, 44483. I want to just address the 3 trustees if I could. wanted to ask you if you know what your budget is for 2017.
Okay. This is the estimated carryover summary, but you're talking budget, not carryover.
I'm talking, do you know what your total budget is?
Appropriated amount. The appropriated amount is $5,648,229.06. Wait a second.
Say that again, please.
That was 16. We're going to have 17 here. Put that in 17 in my position. Oh, here's 17. Budget. 343. I'm sorry, the account budget for 2017 total of all accounts at this particular point in time, $3,234,577.33.
And that is source, your source of that is?
That was provided by the fiscal officer of Bazetta Township, and it's the receipt account status report for Bazetta Township dated 2017 with a date on it of 2/28/17.
And your number was again, please?
The number was, according to this report, it says account budget 3,234,577.33.
Okay. I'm gonna go back to 2016, if you'll allow me to do that.
Okay, see if I can help you there, see if I
Yeah,
have it.
well, I have the report from the auditors, and your certificate, we'll just go with the general fund, okay, we'll just go with that, because that's what I'm doing, the trustees.
16,
Cemetery, general fund, okay.
Okay, you had $869,879.27 was the budget in the general fund in 2016. Okay, you carried over $316,690.66 from the auditor's report. Okay.
Sorry, I don't have that report. Yes, a second, this was,
Your carryover in 2017 was $481,153.55
yes, got that.
from the auditor,
Mhm.
okay?
That was
But the fiscal officer only claimed $452,339.12. So she under budgeted $417,540.15, $417,540.15. That's her numbers.
Okay,
And
so,
then we have the auditor's numbers. So my question is, why was it under budgeted?
I'm not quite sure, I don't quite.
Why did she not claim the full amount, okay?
First of all, the carryover is different than the.
I'm not talking about the carryover.
You just
I'm not-
gave it
I'm
to
not-
me, 481,
That-
153.
Yeah, what?
Go ahead.
All right, go ahead.
Go ahead.
What I'm saying is that on the auditor's report,
Okay,
I can go to 2017, it's the same thing. The carryover was 481, 153.55.
right,
That's on the auditor's report.
right, okay.
Your total budget was 865, 515, 47. Okay?
Okay,
But she under budgeted 417,000. She did not, 1,000. She did not claim it on her paper that she gave you, for instance, which is your receipt status, your account status. So what I'm gonna do is, since she's not here, it doesn't really matter. And the top of this, by the way, there was a lot of question about, the IT wages. I just want to tell you that I have not seen his W-2 form, but he is at $67,004.28. Just so you know. So I'll give you that. I'll give you that. I just want to know about the general fund.
Will Rita be here at the next meeting?
she should be, no, she's not gonna be here.
So,
I mean, she'll be back, but I think the next
Meeting,
meeting,
she's gone again.
she's gone again, yeah, I'm almost sure that was the email I read.
so if you take all the numbers, if you look at all the numbers, your total budget was underestimated by $1,032,392.01. It's not in her reports. I know it's gonna take a little time to look it
Yeah,
over.
but I'm just curious if, Ted, if it's the $1 million loan, the $1.3 million loan that we got, that was sitting there, but we
No.
didn't,
We had to put that into our
that was,
It's not it.
it's not it?
It's not it, sir, it's not it.
Well, I mean,
So-
certainly give us some time to digest it.
Well, I certainly will.
Yeah.
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 Appreciate it, yeah.
And I'm sure she wouldn't be able to answer me tonight either, because she would have to.
But excuse me, but what you're saying is that if we look at the total budget for all the funds, we're at $6,680,000?
Mhm.
I thought we were way below that.
No.
We're not getting paid for a $6 million budget. We're getting paid for less than $4 million.
That's right.
So this would be a nice raise for us, thank you, Cheryl.
Well, there you go.
If we could prove that, if we could prove that there's,
Maybe you should just go, the three of you, if you can, or maybe two of you should just take a trip down to the auditor's office and find out what's going on.
that might be something that we might need to do. Now,
Sure, it's worth checking on, isn't it?
well, again, I'm just gonna look at the general fund in particular.
Yeah, that's fine, that's what I have.
If I could maybe make some comments on that. I know that the total budget appropriations for 2016 to run the general fund was about $452,000. But we had about we had a carryover in the general fund from two estates that gave us estate taxes, when these two individuals passed away. It's out there, and I believe we show it as carryover from year to year, but it's not necessarily in the budget. The money's available and it's there, but what we're doing in the budget is in that $452,000, that's what's been budgeted to run the general fund for 2016.
So what you're talking about is, let me get this back down. Okay. So, if you're going back to the 2016, where you get the 452, 339 is what she budgeted. 452, 339.12. Okay? It shouldn't have been that. It should have been 869, 879.27.
We don't budget our carryover. The carryover,
You have to budget your carryover.
we're not spending it.
No. You when someone asks you what your total budget is,
Okay, I'm gonna ask you,
wait a minute, don't ask the question with the question.
Okay,
I'm asking you, if I say to you as a taxpayer, what's your total budget?
for the general fund, and I would have to
You
tell
need to
you,
give it all to us.
I would have to tell you, okay, that the budget to run the general fund is $452,359. That's the budget to run, that's what we've allocated, and that's what the budget is to run that particular
No, it is
department.
not.
Now, you can ask me what monies are
No,
available.
it is not.
You can ask me what monies are available for that particular fund, and I would have to tell you that it's $869.
Okay, so you just answered my question.
I mean, that's what's available for that fund is $869.
But you're not telling the taxpayers the whole story.
What story do you want us to tell them?
The truth, which is
Can I
the
ask-
total budget.
Can I ask you a question now? Since you've asked me one.
Go ahead.
What's the budget to run your household?
Whatever Carly makes a year.
But you
That's
didn't-
my budget.
But you didn't,
And I spend every bit of
but
it.
you didn't put your savings and your 401Ks and everything else, you didn't
But
tell
if
me all about
somebody
it.
said to me, what is my, private sector is a little bit different than the
You're right,
taxpayers
but I
who
understand.
pay all of this.
I understand that, but you're not asking the question in the right way. When you ask
Oh my God.
what the budget
Are you
is,
kidding me right now?
no, I'm just saying, when you're asking what the budget is to run the general fund, I have to tell you that in that particular year, it was $452. Okay, yeah, we have cash for $868 or $869, but the budget to run the general fund was.
Okay, but it doesn't show any of the money that you carried over, is what you're saying.
No, it does in the next report. It shows you the actual carryover that we had in 2016, which was $481,153.55. That's what we carried over from 16
Right.
into
But she
17.
does not put in her report when she gives it to the taxpayers. That's what I'm saying. It's all right.
It's all right here.
No. it's
This
not.
is the only sheet that we get monthly from her, is the
Maybe.
estimation 2017
Summary,
summary.
yeah.
That's all we get.
Right. Well, maybe.
But I
we'll-
understand what Cheryl's saying,
Sure.
if you actually get the cash balance
Sheet,
sheet
yeah.
and go across and add them up. But I still don't think, I'd like to go down to the auditor too, because I still don't think that, even though you got
Well,
it
the auditor
from
sheet
them,
is in your
but,
packet.
Yeah, we got it right here.
okay, because that's not, that doesn't seem right.
No, I just.
I understand what she's
Sheriff,
saying,
I do too, but
and I understand what Rita does.
But it's
Two different-
it's
it's two
definitely
different-
two different things, and
Right.
Yeah.
Frank, you talked about being transparent. You know, if I come and I ask Rita, what is the total money? What is your total money? And I get this paper that tells me 400,000, for instance, instead of 889,000.
I understand.
I'm gonna go, well, yeah, maybe, you know, that's not right, because most people, not me, because I know how to read them, but most of these folks,
Don't,
they don't know how to read them.
right.
So that was my point,
Good point.
so,
We will find out.
thanks.
yeah, thank you for bringing it to our attention. We'll see if we can't get clarification between the auditor
And you.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, please come forward.
My name is Amelia Ulrich. From a PO box to the 3434 State Route 5. And can they like chime in? Can we chime in?
No,
One speaker at a time.
Okay, what state issue is one grant?
Yes, state issue one is what was voted on by the taxpayers of Ohio.
When?
Yeah, it was put in with that other, thing for Ohio, Build Ohio, or it was something, used to be state issue 2, and then they changed to state issue 1, and they were trying to build jobs for Ohio. And I can't remember what the name
Jobs
of it.
that government gave or something like that?
It was something, I can't remember the name of it.
So it's it's been in play for a few years.
Pardon?
It's been in play by the Staple House for a few years.
And, how much of that 452 that she was talking about is in the 401K?
I'm sorry?
You're asking, what part of her household budget is a 401K? I want to know what part of that, actually 440,000 is 401K.
There's nothing in our account for 401K.
Right.
Public employees.
So that has absolutely nothing to do with.
No, not her, absolutely, there's somebody, okay.
That was wrong, wrong reason. Okay, well, Mike, how much, of those vacant lots, I mean, as a percentage of them compared to the ones that are owned by, the ones that are owned, is it like an up or down percentage of vacant, one or the other?
It actually has leveled off now, with everybody thought that about 2 years ago that the banking scandal, if you wanna call it that, where they were doing the robo-signing was peaked. But actually, up until the end of last year, they were just finishing it up. So I would say we're not gonna see any more foreclosures in this area, that number is gonna start settling down and lower. And I would say at this time, there's probably, that I know of, because a lot of them don't get shown on bank paperwork for a year to 2 years. I'd say there's probably 20 to maybe 40 empty houses in Bazetta Township that aren't paying taxes right now.
I'm just saying that, you know, taxes and everything going up, do we think that, vacancy is gonna get more, and where is the money that you can't afford to pay your taxes?
If those houses would start, becoming used again, which when we were keeping them mowed and we were getting people to buy those properties and start turning them back into functioning houses, it would lower your taxes, but it would be so minute that you probably wouldn't notice it. You know, I mean, every time something like that happens, you get, like the school levy that goes on that raises it, or, you know, I mean, it kind of counterbalances itself. If you were here for any of the levy meetings that they had a very good display that showed how the percentages get broken down and how the more people we have, it kind of lessens. But, I mean, as always with everything going up, you hardly ever see a reduction in your taxes. I mean, it's very rare. Even if we had every resident or every structure in the township full and paying taxes, well, people assume that because we have a Walmart down there, we get some astronomical amount of revenue from sales tax, and all we get is a percentage from the property tax. We get nothing from the sales tax. And they are actually paying that at a rate that goes back to, what is it, 1970 or something?
Right, depending on the levies, 1997, 1995, 1988.
Yeah, so technically, these new businesses that are coming in, they do not wanna see a new levy go in place, because then they would have to pay at the current day rate, which would be a lot higher than the rate they're paying right now. So every time they see one of our levies go down for the general fund or for anything, they're very happy, because they're paying, but they're paying less of their share than they should be. I mean, I'm a taxpayer too. I mean, I've watched my property tax triple since I bought a home in Bazetta. But you know what? Everybody else's, and I know some people in Howland, and I know some people in some other places that are, you know, it's went up even substantially more. So, I mean, you just, you know, unfortunately, the governor is got him a nice stash of money that's coming off the backs of the taxpayer, because, off of every individual, because if you pay taxes, you're paying more, because the townships and the counties and other entities that were getting money from the state just aren't getting it anymore. So in order to try to maintain their budgets, there's nowhere to turn but to the taxpayer.
Oh, good on that. Would we consider, I mean, is it feasible to have that access to the Elm Road from the new station?
No, this
At this time.
not feasible,
Okay.
not feasible this time.
Wouldn't you think a great idea?
Oh, it is an awesome idea, but I don't wanna waste $250,000 in taxpayer money to put safeties in for the railroad. That's what, and we can't put them in. They have to put double gates, they have to have the emergency, the safety, so those gates can't open on that access. And they told, the estimate they gave me was $250,000, just for the safety. That's not the road yet. So and they haven't used it for 3.5 years. I don't wanna go spend that kind of money, next year they abandon them. I'm gonna wait them out, is what I'm gonna do.
I was thinking it would be, cost and stuff like that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions?
I got one more thing. I'm a little perplexed on something. Almost got past.
Take a deep breath.
No,
Inheritance.
just about the,
The inheritance spending.
oh, yeah. So when I ask about, this has been a while ago, and I asked about where's the money go to the inheritance? And in this meeting, it was said that it went for electrical for the chapel and a police cruiser. And that was all that was said at the meeting. And that's what set this into motion of the recording. Because then in the minutes to the meeting was this list of things, this huge list of things that the inheritance money went for. And then I just now hear, when Cheryl's up here, that you say, oh, that inheritance money, those two inheritance money, which I specifically asked, now you have this money.
Still, yeah, we don't have it all, but it's still there.
So how do we know what that money, where that, like, that's just, it's mind-boggling to me that I asked that specific question in a meeting. I get told two things. Then when the minutes get printed, there's this huge list of things, which was
Not discussed in that meeting.
no, never discussed in that meeting, and that's where it came about that these meetings need to be recorded, because what happens is then stuff will get said, and we come back to get a record of it, and there is no record of it. There's no record, and then they say, oh, we didn't say that. So, thank goodness for that, absolutely.
I believe your road was, paid for by the, inheritance.
Well, that's what I'd like to, then, it just threw me when you
I
said,
believe-
we have that inheritance from those two estates, and I'm like, wait a minute, that was just discussed. So,
There's still money there, I mean.
is there like a writing account of
You'd have to check with Rita on.
what that, like, here's the inheritance money, and this is what came out, and this is how much money we have left?
You'd have to get with Rita, the way I understand it, the inheritance money was put into the general fund, and it becomes part of the general fund, that's still.
That's where it has to go.
Yeah.
That's where it has to go, but is there not some bookkeeping
You
that
can make
puts it
a
and
new
says
code line item for this or that, but we.
that came out of
we
that
had-
inheritance money?
Yeah, we had been using that inheritance money a lot just to keep the general fund going. But it's also paid for a road, because they did our sewer project up there, and nobody figured any paving when they got done.
I mean, some of the other big ticket items was we bought the property for the fire
Station out of there.
That was $150.
By the way, I think I read in the March 13th minutes to the meeting that maybe it was Frankie's, and I'm the raises for the IT guy. Thank you. Don't think you should give raises to people and then come and ask us for money, so you better be standing up for that.
Any more questions?
One real quick question, please. I just was looking at what Cheryl did put out, that's Cheryl, correct?
Cheryl.
What she put out, this IT, that's your information technology,
Yes.
makes 50-some thousand, I thought.
According to her record, 62,004.
And you.
Well,
really-
those are Rita's,
you-
those are Rita's
Rita's
numbers, by the
numbers,
way.
okay, that's.
Yeah.
And you just put a thing out that they nixed, you wanted to give them $5 an hour more in January, and he made $67,000, and you wanna give him $5 more?
No, you should have been here at that meeting
I
to
was
hear
at the
what's
meeting.
going on. Well, then evidently you didn't hear me clearly. What we wanted to do is, we raised the IT services to all the other townships from $25 an hour, or $35 an hour to $50.
Okay,
Hold on a minute.
all right,
You asked a question.
yes, sir.
I'm giving you an answer, let me speak.
Okay,
Okay. 5 years ago, when we raised that raise up, we promised to give Joel more money. He's the only employee that works for the township that brings 60% of his wages back in here, that we get his services for $25 an hour. So then we talked to him the other day and said, let's raise this up another 10. And then we can afford to give you a raise. That was the discussion.
oh,
And it was on the agenda to give that to him. So you got a guy that's bringing in 60%, if not more, of his wages back to the township at a higher rate than he's getting paid. So he's basically costing us nothing. He doesn't charge us overtime when he has to run to the police department at 2 o'clock in the morning, or the fire department.
okay. I understand what you told me. I understand totally what you told me, but I was at that meeting, and then I misunderstood exactly what was written on there, because you wanted to give him $5 an hour retroactive to January of this year, and these two gentlemen said no. These two gentlemen
Yes,
said.
that's exactly right.
And you did say, so he makes $67,000, you wanna give him $12,000 more a year? No, $5 or $10, yeah. 2,080 hours times 5.
All I'm telling you is what they were promised. So, if you were promised something at your job and you didn't get it, that's how I feel. I'm a man of my word, and if I tell you I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. So, because I did that, it doesn't matter. The guy didn't get the raise.
Yeah, I know,
What's the
but
difference?
it's astronomical. Nobody in this area makes $67,000. How many of you people up there make $67,000? Hey, no, thank you, gentlemen, for shutting that down. Thank you. It's not meant to be disrespectful to you, but.
No big deal. Everybody's got a right to speak their mind, and I spoke mine that night.
That's bizarre. Totally bizarre. Thank you, John.
Okay, one more.
This is correct.
Call the meeting.
A lot of us taxpayers are really interested in our government, and we come to the meetings to understand what's going on. When we come to the meetings, the first part of the meeting is vote on item number 1, number 2. I'm really missing out on the discussion. I would like to be a little fly on the wall during these discussions. When do you discuss these things?
Hour before this meeting,
And is that open to the public?
right here, when you come in and sit down.
But you can't speak.
You're not allowed to speak.
No, that's okay.
You could listen to what we're talking about.
We didn't get the
That's open to
agenda
the
until.
public.
I hired you guys, I voted for you guys to govern, but I'm just interested in the information, and I'd like to hear the conversation.
You're welcome.
On how you made it, so,
We
now
have,
before.
we have several people that come in and sit and listen to us.
Thank you.
1 hour before.
Move to
All right,
adjourn.
we'll call this, meeting to an adjournment.
8:23.
8:23, 111-17, to adjourn the meeting at 8:23 PM.
Hart, yes.
Trustee Hubbard?
Yes.
Trustee Clark?
Yes.
Trustee Bud?
Yes.
She